Hi, Esra. Thanks for joining me on this channel. And would you like to quickly introduce yourself in a short couple of minutes? Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Judit. First of all, thank you so much. So my name is Esra, and where to start? I guess 2.5 years ago, I kind of started like a whole spiritual, physical, mental, emotional journey for myself, where I like at the time I was really going through some difficult moments in my life, and I felt really stuck and stagnant and just not in a very good place. I didn't feel good physically, but also I just felt very like energetically constricted and not aligned with who I truly wanted to be and the purpose that I truly wanted to embody, which at the time I didn't even know what that was, right? So I think it, I'm not exactly sure. I can't put a finger on exactly how or when or what it was that kind of started that journey, but I think I was just being really drawn into coming to myself, like turning my attention inwards and introspecting a lot. And it ended up turning into like a spiritual journey that I could not even fathom where it would take me. Like I did not think it would take me to the points, to the extent that I'm at today. But yeah, I turned really inwards, and I started, researching a lot of things about, some metaphysical concepts like manifesting. And at the time, I guess it was very ego driven as well, because there were things that I thought I wanted out of life, like more money, like better relationships. But I didn't really even realize that most of the things I wanted were at the time, maybe not, they didn't feel as superficial, but now that when I look back, there were things that that felt very surface level, that feel very surface level right now. And it's a very subjective thing, of course, right? I'm not saying that in a judgmental way, of course, because I mean those were very critical moments for me to transcend as well. But I guess like those things that I wanted out of life at the moment just kind of drove me further and further down a path where I really came to myself and really focused on balancing things energetically. And in turn, that also turned into a better understanding of, my physical health as well. And I discovered a lot of things. A lot of signs became clear to me, like I was getting these recommendations on YouTube. I came across Dr. Robert Morse, for instance, and I started uncovering a whole bunch of information that was absolutely mind-blowing. And I don't know why, but at the time, like, I remember, actually, what was interesting was I remember a couple of years ago, much further before this, there was a channel that I came across. I think it was Osborne, who right now I really, really, I've watched a lot of her videos and I really admire. But at the time I came across one of her videos, or I think it was an interview with her. And I was like, this lady thrives on fruit. Like all she eats is fruit. That's insane. That's crazy. And I was just like, okay, this is ridiculous. And I just kind of scrolled past it. Not realizing that maybe a couple of years after that, I'd be in a similar place doing similar things. But right now, just really understanding and understanding like exactly what this is all about, what being in harmony with nature is all about. And so I realized I've just kind of gone all over the place with this explanation. But like basically what happened was that I made a lot of significant changes.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to quickly ask you if you can give the audience a quick explanation of why you talk about fruit, eating fruit, and the fact that we both are actually raw vegans, and maybe you can just quickly. And Dr. Morse is a very important figure in this lifestyle that we have. It's a very healthy lifestyle. It's a vegan lifestyle, but we eat. Some people eat high raw, which means mostly raw, and then some cooked vegan. But you can also give a little bit of explanation why you've gone that way as well. The universe was showing you, or the higher power, God consciousness showing you this path.
So the idea, I think, with raw veganism and fruitarianism, these are just labels, actually, when you think about it. But it's really all about aligning yourself back to nature, right? So if you look around you right now, we're bombarded with chemicals left, right, and center. We're bombarded with, advertisements for foods that are very unnatural to our bodies, that are really engraved, that become really engraved in our subconscious mind when they're everywhere. They're on the TV. Like when you go on YouTube, if you don't have a premium account, you get advertisements constantly about food, and it could get very confusing in the day and age that we live in today, with all this information and all this stimulation being thrown at us, to understand what is really healthy and what is really the diet that we're supposed to be consuming and eating to thrive, to feel optimal, and to feel and function perfectly in our bodies, right? I truly, truly believe that at a core level, that is our birthright. Physical freedom and emotional, spiritual freedom, these are our birthrights. This is what we're destined for. And this is what God, or whatever you want to call it, everyone has a different name for it, and there's no condemnation in any of these things, but God or nature, that is what it intends for us, is to be in harmony. And at the time when I was going through this transformation, I did not feel at ease in my body. It did not feel that sense of harmony. But I think at a core level, I did deep down know that was my birthright, and something was, even though I could not consciously, cognitively fathom it, there was something that was always drawing me towards that direction, right? And so I was affirming these things. I was affirming that I felt really good in my body. I was affirming that I was, I felt really good in general, even though there were days where I woke up and I felt terrible. I did not want to get out of bed. I was like, why am I even existing? My existence.
So you were manifesting. You were trying to manifest a better, healthier version of yourself. So you were putting that out into the universe, that energy, and feel good. And
exactly, yeah, definitely, manifesting. You can call it that. I think it was just embodying a different energetic frequency. And that's what manifesting is all about. Because when you don't pay attention to what's going on internally, it's very easy to get caught up in the thinking that your external environment dictates and controls who you are and what your personality is made of, right? But in reality, it's the complete opposite, because we're creating through the energetic frequency, through our energetic signature, we're constantly creating what is showing up in our reality. And sometimes we forget our power in that, and we think everything that's happening, we're the victims of it. And so we step out of that creator mentality and step into victim mentality. When that's never the case, you're always creating it. So if you are the victim, you're the victim of your own circumstances that you're creating, right?
You choose to be a victim.
Yeah, it's a choice always. And you're never, in reality, you're never the victim. That's just the conditioning sometimes that might be creeping into our minds. But yeah, essentially that was exactly what you said. That was a moment in my life when I was remembering that I wasn't the victim. I was recognizing that I was creating all of this, everything that happened into my life, good and bad. And sometimes that takes some courage. That takes some serious sitting down with yourself and reflecting and recognizing, without shame or condemnation or judgment towards yourself, that you have been creating everything, good, bad, ugly, this whole time. There's no one to blame. No one's at fault. You're not at fault either. But it takes some getting real with yourself to recognize that I've been the one that's been creating all of these things. I'm here feeling sorry for myself, but I also recognize that I'm the cause and the effect. I'm the one that's creating all of it for myself. So yeah, that obviously manifested in a lot of physical things. I could go on and on about it, but that's where it kind of rooted itself in, was just that realization that I've been the one that's creating all this. What? And the more you kind of come to that awareness, the more you recognize the patterns in your life that have been creating all of those undesirable, unfavorable circumstances, those scenarios in your life. Which is really what it all comes down to, because once you start becoming aware of those things, now you have the power to change them, right? Now you have the power to make different choices, to make different decisions in your life that create different causes that have a different effect, right? So it's all the choice and the consequence. Like that's what it all boils down to. It's all cause and effect.
Yes, it's from the unconscious to the conscious. So a lot of people do things every day. Most of that day is in an unconscious state because they don't even realize it. So once you become conscious, you can change it. You see it from a higher perspective.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Consciousness, like that. I mean, like it's also a very thrown around word nowadays. Um, I think there's a lot of like new age talk around it as well. There's a lot of like, I don't know, like it's, everyone has their own definition of it, but consciousness is just being aware. It's just the art of attention, like becoming aware of where you're placing your energy, right? Becoming aware of how you're reacting to your environment. Are you reacting from a victim mentality, or are you reacting from a place of empowerment? Or are you not reacting at all, like which takes a lot of strength as well. So yeah, that's I like, as much as there are things that we really care about in physical reality, like making money, like having a family, all of these amazing things, I feel that at a core level, this is our true objective, is to become conscious, to become aware. And everything else precedes, everything else follows, right? When you become conscious, you can create from a place of empowerment. So wow, I just really rambled on there. I lost my point, but yeah, I think
Yeah, no,
that's
it makes sense what you're saying. It makes sense. You were just moving through certain other points that we were making. It's good.
yeah. So I guess that's how my journey transpired, and of course, the physical health was a huge aspect of it because. I think like the more I started to make changes in my body, like I started listening to these figures like Dr. Robert Morse, which I mean we kind of talked on, but um, he's quite a big influence in the true health space, naturopathy. Anyone that's dealing with a physical illness, with a physical disease, which is your body being out of harmony with its nature. Um, you can look into him. There are also some other great like people that I've followed in the space, like Lauren Lockman. He's a genius, a wealth of knowledge. Definitely recommend. But yeah, I started uncovering these people and making the changes to my diet. I don't think I wouldn't like. I wouldn't suppose that it's like an absolutely necessary part of a spiritual awakening, but it's a facilitator of it. Because especially I went on to it. I went on and did a juice cleanse, right? I was doing a 100-day juice cleanse, where I basically just drank nothing but juices, at least 4 liters of fresh pressed homemade juices. I would press them every day myself at home, for the day. Like I'd have my 4 liters ready in the morning and I drink them throughout the day. And I did that for 100 days. And while I was going through that period was when I had download after download after download. And it was like this energy that was stagnant in like the lower part of my body, like in my root, in my kind of sacral area, started to go up into my heart. And I felt like my heart was opening for the first time. And it was actually during the summer, when I started, like I felt like I could go outside and just being in the sun, it was like communication with like the spiritual realm. It was, people might think this is woo or something, but it felt so invigorating and enlightening. I'd never experienced that kind of sensation in my life, no matter how many times I've gone outside and been in the sun. I love the sun. I've always loved the sun, but that was like a whole mind-blowing revelationary experience, to be able to experience nature and to be able to experience these like amazing things, like just pure sunlight and fresh air, while my body was cleaning itself while being in a clean vessel. And so that just kind of showed me that taking care of your body, like obtaining a state of health and vitality in your body, like regaining that strength, is communion with God, is communion with nature and everything that is divine, really. So yeah, like that's kind of how my journey evolved, and it's been evolving. I keep finding things out every day. I love doing research. I'm very much into things like natural hygiene, which is all about, like I said, like aligning yourself back to nature, what your physiology demands in terms of diet, and not just diet, but like how you live, how you breathe, how you sleep, all of these things, like all the factors that comprise your general lifestyle, right? So yeah, I guess it's like a quick, not so quick introduction.
Yeah, that's perfect. What I wanted to mention as well is that drinking juices, I think what happens is our natural state, we've got a very high frequency aspirate, and because our body is not necessarily in the healthiest state, it brings our frequency or energy down. So when you drink, for example, juice, so you cleanse your body, then your body can operate in a much more optimal energy level. And when you're drinking juice, then it doesn't put a lot of strain on your digestive system. So you can actually allow yourself. So these downloads was probably because you were drinking juice and your body was not using so much energy to break down all the things in your organs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really what I mean. Again, anyone that's interested in health will also find it interesting that our gut, our digestive system is where everything really begins. When you eat food, it goes through your digestive tract. So if you're eating things that are harmful to your body, that are deprecating to your body, your digestive system is the first place where those problems are going to show up. So most physical illnesses, with the exception of a few, I would say, could be rooted in really the digestive system. Like you can really trace it back to the gut, where everything really begins, right? So yeah, like when I started to cleanse, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just saying that's awesome. Yes, I'm just
Yeah.
nodding.
Yeah, so when I started to cleanse, it was actually really interesting, but my body was expelling some wild stuff. Like, I mean, might be a bit TMI, but when I would go to the bathroom, I could see that stuff coming out of me. And I was like, it smelled like dead donkeys. Like, it was not good. And I'm like, I'm just drinking juice. How could there possibly be this stuff that's coming out? This definitely does not look like juice. So yeah, it was pretty crazy because like that was, I think, when I started seeing that stuff coming out, it was like the moment where it clicked, and I was like, no wonder I've been feeling terrible this whole time. Like this stuff has been in me this whole time, and I've been wondering why. Like I just haven't felt really good. Um, and
Yes.
yeah, like I mean, go ahead.
No. I'm just saying that's exactly and I just wanted to share it with the audience that you struggled with health problems before you started eating so healthy, and you had uh, what is that illness? Sorry, I forgot. PC
PCOS. Yeah,
PCOS. Yes.
yeah, right. So
So
I had
you healed that. Yes.
I did have polycystic. It's called polycystic ovarian syndrome. A lot of women deal with it actually,
Mm.
and I've had some people reach out to me on Instagram about PCOS and similar. Like so, endometriosis is a similar also type of illness where the body really encapsulates toxicity and these free radicals and acids into little balls of cysts. Essentially, that's what the cysts are. So they don't go to other vital organs in your body and attack them, and create further problems that could be more damaging. And so yeah, a lot of people experience PCOS. I had it for, I think I was diagnosed when I was around 15 years old, and I was immediately put on birth control. I used birth control for a year, took a break after birth control. My skin purged like crazy after I took a break, and I had breakouts all over my jawline, my on my cheeks. It was really a moment in my life where it was really difficult to be around people, because I was just extremely self-conscious of how my face felt. It was really painful as well. Um, and after that, I went on birth control again, which helped with the acne, of course, but it was obviously a temporary fix and nothing that was really permanently getting to the root cause of the problem. Um, And it was a constant battle because I had irregular periods. There was a moment where I may have mentioned to you before, Judit, in one of our interviews, but there was a moment where I was off of birth control and I hadn't gotten my period in 3 months. And I was like, I don't know what's going on in my body. And I hadn't gone to the doctor. So I was like wanting to go to the doctor. But then one day, I was in the shower and I started getting waves of cramps like in my stomach, in my lower abdominal area. And it was so incredibly painful that I just had to sit down. I sat down at first and I had like the warm water just kind of hitting my stomach in the shower. And it was just the most painful experience because it was coming in waves, like these episodes of pain. And it was like something was just kind of eating it up from the inside. And it was like, I don't know how long this is going to last. It's so painful. I had my roommate call the ambulance, and I was in we're like staying in the dormitories in the university campus, and we had a little like clinic on campus, and they had an ambulance, but they would rarely use the ambulance. Like it wasn't there for like kind of casual situations, of course. And we called the clinic and they said, well, can she walk here? And I'm like, no, it's literally 50 meters away, but I can't walk. Like I was just not, I was like lying naked in the shower with the water just hitting my stomach and like excruciating pain. I blacked out at some point. I just kind of like fainted in the shower. I think my blood pressure went off or something. And yeah, the ambulance came, they took me, and it was like a 1 minute drive to the clinic. And they took me into the clinic and they gave me a painkiller. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm still kind of in pain. But then 20 minutes later, the pain subsided, of course. And it was just like, I kind of sat there and then that was it. But it was like, I don't know how one painkiller, I mean, it made the pain go away, of course, but like one pill doing that right now, when I think about it, it's like that did not do anything for my body. And like if my body was in so much pain, it was obviously trying to tell me something, that something was wrong, and me taking a painkiller is only like masking the situation. So yeah, that was quite like a, yeah, it was
And it
a
went
really,
away afterwards. It went away, that pain. Was
yeah,
this
it went
before you
away.
started eating healthy?
This was a couple of years before I started eating
Before,
healthy. I could
yes.
not make sense of the situation then. No.
So do you think
Yeah.
that your all this the illness that's manifested, do you think this was catapulting you into this direction to spiritually awaken and to live your life, and doing what you love doing and follow your
Yeah.
passion?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was also several things. I had just moved to Amsterdam. I moved away from home, so I think that was also. I'd stayed away from home before. Like I was in France for a while. I was in another part of the Netherlands before that doing my studies. But the moment that I was in, like the time period that I was in Amsterdam, I think it was just a very lonely, and I just didn't feel good. Like I just felt through like an existential, like I was going through this existential depression almost. And it was a combination of things. I think like the physical symptoms are also there. I didn't feel good in my body. I had a lot of like issues, skin issues, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, like it was a compilation of a compilation of multiple things that I feel just kind of catapulted me to this direction, so to speak.
So just to clear it up for the audience, you are basically 100% healed and your skin is perfect now and you feel amazing, right? On this journey, most of the
Um,
time.
Most of the time, I would say it's, you know what, I think there's like the way we think about healing can sometimes be really interesting because we say, I mean, or at least that's the way I've imagined it before. I was like, I'll just do raw vegan for 6 months, or I'll just do like fruits for a couple of months, and then I'll be fully fixed, like fully healed. There's nothing else to do. Like why go even further and keep going on this lifestyle? But I don't think healing is really a destination that you achieve at the end of the day. That's why I say like it's a constant journey for me, and I keep finding things out. I keep finding out how deep this stuff goes, and it's really, really interesting for me. Every time I uncover something new, I go to deeper levels, and it's like I realize how I've been offending my body for 26 years, 24 years before I started this journey, and how now I've been eating this way, kind of becoming more health conscious for about 2 years. But that the amount of damage done in 24 years is not going to be fixed in just 2 years of obtaining better eating habits. It's going to make amazing differences, of course, amazing changes to your body. But it's just about accepting and forgiving, I feel, more so than it is about hanging on and clinging on to that idea of I need to be fully healed right now. Because again, at a core level, we already are perfectly functioning. Your body is displaying symptoms because you're perfectly healthy. If it wasn't healthy enough to display symptoms, that means it doesn't have enough energy, enough vitality to push out toxins in your body that are offending it, right?
No, you're right.
So
You're
I've
right.
yeah, exactly. I've learned to adopt a whole other level of gratitude for my body, for these symptoms that I've resisted my whole life. Like, I was recently on a water fast for a while. I started experiencing symptoms with my skin again. And it's like, when I'm fasting, fasting is the deepest level of healing that you can expect, right? There's nothing beyond it. Like, fasting is when you completely rest physiologically. Um, and it's like, why all these symptoms when I'm fasting? Why do I thought I was done with this stuff? Why do I get still pimples? Why do I still experience like heartburn, these things, digestive issues, bloating, like all these stuff while I'm fasting? But when you're fasting, your body has more energy now to push out toxemia. And it's it's just this, I guess, this feeling of complete surrender to the process that your body does lovingly. Like, you might not be able to cognitively understand the full extent of it in the moment, but in reality, like, it's doing everything perfectly in ways that you can't even imagine, right? Like, so getting out of the mind and stepping back into like intuition, stepping back into that place of surrender and trusting like the higher forces to take care of you. I guess
That
that's what
sounds
this healing
perfect.
is about. Yeah.
Yes, that's a perfect answer. Thank you so much for that. That sounds really what I think even I needed to hear as well. What are the key aspects that you could share with the audience that they could start doing today to raise their frequency and vibration? They could just do right now already without any tools or anything like that. What can you share?
I love this question because I've been trying to remind myself of this the past like 2 or 3 days, because I've been feeling a little like out of alignment, and sometimes it happens, right? And I think what's really brought me back to the moment in the first in like the last 2 days is when I'm doing something, if I become aware that my attention is drifting to other places, like if I'm here preparing my meal, if I'm here like peeling a mandarin, right? Or like an orange or something. And I realize that I'm thinking about, okay, well, what am I going to post next? Or what am I going to create next? Or what am I going to tell this person about what they asked me? Or I don't know. My mind goes elsewhere. I'm like, no, wait. Let's bring our attention back to the present moment. I'm here peeling this beautiful orange right now that I'm going to indulge in a minute, and this is going to taste amazing. And I'm just like looking at this fruit, just admiring how beautiful it is. And it's just the simplest thing, right? It's like some people could consider it boring. It's just a freaking orange, like, and you're going to eat it and you're going to be done with it. What does it matter? But it matters because every moment is such a blessing. And when I'm sitting there and I'm just like admiring this orange, I'm realizing how much it's doing for my body, how much it's giving me all this beautiful nutrition that my body's going to use in the best way possible, and how much that in turn is going to turn into me being my best self, showing up as my best self in this world, and creating more impact in the world in ways that are very unique to me as they are to every individual. And being completely immersed in that experience that is this present moment, and not some other place, not some other time. These are all just imagined things. The past and the future are all just imagined. The only thing that's real is right now, this current moment, right? So
Very
it can be
true.
hard.
Very true. People
It can be.
can't enjoy the simple things because they think they need to hurry somewhere else or do something more important. And what you're saying is people must just slow down and just stop and just enjoy even the simplest things. There's a reason why those things are there for you to enjoy.
Exactly. Like that's all there is, that's all there is. If you're constantly elsewhere, if your attention is constantly at another moment and you're not able to fully be immersed in this moment and enjoy it, is that's how your life is going to go by. Like you're never going to be able to train your brain to enjoy right now, even when you get to that point that you're imagining in the future, or I don't know, whatever it is that you're thinking about. When you get to that point in the future that you're imagining, and you're not enjoying it because you're thinking about the next moment, like your life is just fleeting by without you fully being and experiencing the present moment and enjoying it. And I think it's just about really, really learning to love the present moment. Like that's, I feel like that's our birthright, is to just learn to love the present moments, the infinite like present moments that are passing by in this like lifespan that we have. Is
So the
so
number one thing you suggest is to live in the present moment and slow down and appreciate everything, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Just bring your
And
attention back.
yes, attention to them. And what are other key aspects that you can recommend that you've seen in your life that helps you?
I occasionally do like social media detoxes, like just kind of cleanse my attention, I guess, from things that could be quite distracting, because I think you might be able to relate to this as someone that's on there to create stuff and share like your truth, the things that you know, of course, like these are all beautiful things, but sometimes I do find myself getting really like distracted on there because there's so much stimulus on social media. There's so much information again, and it can be easy to just get carried away with what other
Or
people
an
are
hour
doing.
later, or sorry to interrupt you, just an hour, like I would find myself 30 minutes gone by and I've been looking at things and, I'm supposed to be doing something else. You get caught up in so it's very
Exactly.
hard to actually break away. So how would you do it? What are your tips?
Oh, like I still struggle with this. Like I'm not perfect with it. But today, like the last 2 days, I've really been going back and forth with it, just battling myself. I constantly delete the Instagram app off of my phone, and then I go on Safari or like Google Chrome, and then I check it. Um, but yesterday I made it a point. I was like, I'm gonna delete Instagram and I'm not gonna go on it again. So this morning I was on it to like chat with you, but then that was it. And I was like, I'm not gonna do anything else on there. So I'm taking a break for 5 days. And it, it's like that really masculine component, like discipline. You really have to balance both. Like if you want to be in the present moment, you also have to create the structure for you to be able to be in the present moment. And for me, that structure is, you know, eating the food that I know is good for my body, taking like periodic breaks off of Instagram, and even if my mind wants to go on there, even if I feel compelled to go on there, I'll be adamant about practicing the discipline to not go on there, right? So I think that makes a tremendous difference in your life because, again, our power is always here in our heart and in our gut, like where our intuition is, where God speaks to us, is what I like to say it. That's how I like to say it. And when we're constantly bombarded with external stimulus from Instagram, for instance, it's hard to listen to that intuition because your attention is always outside. It's never in here. So deleting Instagram for me is makes a life-changing difference. And combined with, getting off of social media, also turning your attention inward. So I like to meditate. Everyone has a different way of, I guess, connecting to the divine is maybe the way to say it. But for me, meditation is very crucial. Like it's a very indispensable aspect of my life. Recently, more so as well. So yeah,
What
like
type
every
of
morning.
meditation? Sorry, what type of meditation are you doing? Do you listen to guided meditation or do you do your own?
I used to do guided meditations more often. In fact, I couldn't really do them alone, or I felt like I couldn't really do them alone, because I would be like, okay, how am I supposed to do this? Like I didn't really know how to. But I think recently it's been easier and easier for me to wean off of like guided meditations. Not saying that guided meditations are a bad thing by any means, I think they're great. I listen to a lot of Muji. I think that's how his name is pronounced.
Mushi.
He
I
has
don't know. I will Google it.
I'll write his name for you on Instagram later. I
Okay.
think it's Mooji. That's how his name is pronounced. But
Yes.
he's the one that I've been listening to. His talks are very, very inspiring for me. They again, they bring me to the present moment. They bring me out of my head and back into my heart. And I love being a heart-centered person. Like I love living from the heart. I think it's like the key to fulfillment in my life. Like I'll just say that. And yeah, I did some of his guided meditations earlier in the summer. Like I was listening to a lot of his meditations. They made a huge impact on my life. But recently, like I've been doing them more so alone. So just 20 minutes, 10 minutes, however much time I have. I feel like even if you have 5 minutes, like there is you like God finds a way to make that eternal, those 5 minutes, when you really choose to like sit down and be in the present moment again in those 5 minutes, be with yourself. And it could be challenging because thoughts come up, there's mental things that come up. Your mind can be
So
like trying
busy.
to you. Your mind could be busy. Like it could be like, oh, but you need to do this. You need to. There was this beautiful idea that came to mind. That's what always happens to me. I'm sitting down, and like all of a sudden I'll get this idea, and I'm like, I need to write this down, but I don't want to get up from my meditation. And I'm like, I have to let go in that moment, or like just train myself to let go, even if it sounds like the best idea in my mind. I'm like, if this idea is meant to like externalize, I'm sure it'll come back to me, and that's how I just kind of let it go.
That's a good way
And
to put it, because it happens to me. The same thing happens to me, and then I
yeah,
start seeing things, and it's amazing, and I want to, put it on paper quickly or write it in my phone, and then that kind of breaks my whole meditation as well. I agree
yeah,
with you. So what you suggest is just leave it, just let it go, and then if you finish the meditation, if it's still there, then you will be able to remember it.
yeah, exactly. And I think it goes to show just how powerful it could be to like sit with yourself, because you know the whole repertoire of everything that you could possibly need is already here. And when you sit down and you close your eyes, all of these ideas coming to you is just evidence of that, right? Like it's just evidence of how much you have that's within you, all this wisdom, all this knowledge. It's already within you. You don't need anything external. And that's the beauty of meditation. It's like reconnecting. It's a medium of connecting with a source that's all seeing, all knowing, all powerful, right?
And there's no one way that's right. If somebody likes to go to church, for example, they can go to church, and that's also a way of meditation, according to me.
Exactly.
That's according to their belief system. Or, we cannot judge other people who don't meditate the same way. This is not right, that is not wrong. You can't say that. You have to look at an individual person's belief system and see what works for them, what they get at. Because somebody that does the simplest meditation can be as the frequency could be so high level, that you would think, how can they achieve that? Because the problem is that in our society, everything is about complexity. And I think that's wrong. It shouldn't be about complexity. It actually should be more simplicity. So people can't believe sometimes how simple certain things are that work, but that's how it is for me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think you like that was something that I also really struggled with earlier, because I'm like, I've really found that this works for me. And it was just the savior complex that I got in my mind, like everyone needs to know about this. And it's great that people are out there sharing their truths with the world, but it's also not your responsibility. Like all you're responsible for is you and how you choose to show up. And it could be a fine line between you showing up and embodying your full, true, authentic self, which everyone is free to do in the ways that they know best. But then going a bit past that and trying to control how everyone else is showing up, I think that's where I kind of like really stumbled a little bit earlier, because I'm like, I know fruits are healing to the body. I know meditation is your way to connect, or has been a very proven like way for me that I could connect with something that's much higher than myself and feel at peace and feel fulfilled. So I'm like, now I want to share this with my mom. Like my mom she struggles with scoliosis. And so everything in me was like, I know she can heal this. I know she can reverse it. I'm going to go and tell her like that she needs to eat fruit and she needs to start fasting and she needs to start meditating and all of these things. And I'm like, it's great that you can share these things with people and inspire them and like share your truth. But I think it's a distinction between doing that and like actually being like condemning people for not doing that when they choose
The
not to go.
judgment.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. And it's
I do judge them silently in myself, even if I don't want to. You know, I mean, I had to stop myself so many times trying to force my husband and my daughter to eat like me because I know it works, you know, for me. And then you want the other person also to experience how good I feel, you know, and what I go through every day, how amazing it is. Like you see the more connectedness to the universe or God consciousness, whatever people want to call it. And I just want to almost like you, for almost like I wanted to force them to do this, and then I had to stop myself and I say that's not loving, you know, from my side to trying to force them my way because their path is different. They love me who
exactly.
I am. When I was sick and I was looking like my whole body was you know, eczema, and I was lying in bed in pain, they still love me. So why can't I love them now if they're not doing what I'm doing and I think is right? You know, I think that I have to love them that way as well, you know, even if they're not on the same path as I am.
That's a whole nother realm of awareness, you know, like just becoming conscious of that, of those thoughts. It's like though that's the mental that wants to judge. That's the mind that wants to say like, no, that's not what they're doing is not right. But the one that's recognizing that you're doing that, that's who we truly are at the core. That's the awareness, that's the conscious. Who's the one that's being the one that's like recognizing those patterns, right? That's your consciousness.
What would you like to share with the audience about how people can find their life purpose and how it fits into the whole spiritual journey?
Oh, I love this question so much. My friend and I were just talking about this. Actually, you and I were just talking about this literally 2 minutes ago. Um, so wow, I struggled with this so much, like especially that like what I was mentioning earlier, the time that I was in Amsterdam. I was in a corporate job working a 9 to 5. And I liked my job. Like I did not like hate it. I enjoyed it because I was surrounded by some really smart people. I was surrounded by people that really pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I felt that I was really growing. But the more I embarked on like my physical transformation and also my spiritual transformation, the more my job also started to feel a little bit out of alignment with who I was. And in the beginning, I couldn't really tell why. That was like I just didn't feel right to me when I would go into the office. Like I would never really feel comfortable. I always felt like I was putting a mask on. The diet was a huge component because I was there most of the time munching on my fruits, and everyone else would go to dinner parties and stuff, and I'd always bring my papaya or my mangoes or like something, my salad, whatever. And everyone else would be eating at this restaurant or having drinks, and I'd just be like, hey, just with my watermelon or something, which was okay. Like I learned to embrace that, but I think there was always kind of like a vibrational mismatch, not just to do with the food, but just in general. And I could never really feel authentic. And I think it got to a point where we really started questioning if what I'm doing in this job is really aligned with who I am and who I want to be and the mark I want to leave in this world, I guess. And that's not to say that everyone needs to do that and like everyone has to like leave their mark on humanity. But for me, it just listening to my gut, I think like I felt like I was meant to be doing something different, right? So it took a lot of building up of courage. I think it took me over a year to get to that point where I was like, okay, I'm going to leave my job. And the moment I made that decision was just so liberating because after I
So
did that,
after 2 years you left. So you studied in
yeah,
Amsterdam. And what did you study?
I studied work and organizational psychology. I did a master's degree in that in the
Okay.
southern part of the Netherlands. And then I came back to Turkey for a while, and then I got an internship in Amsterdam at a consulting company. Um,
Okay.
and after the internship, that turned into a full-time job, and I was working that for together with the internship, 2.5 years, around 2.5 years, right?
And then
Um,
you reached that stage where you weren't enjoying it, and you really didn't resonate with any of the
yeah.
your work colleagues. And
Well, yeah, I loved my colleagues and I still love them. I'm still in touch with a few of them, in fact. And like I go to Amsterdam every now and then and I see them and everything and we catch up. But it's like, I think something was very evidently clear to me that like I was supposed to be doing something different. It was like a gut feeling, I guess. And at the time, I was really passionate about health, and I'm still very passionate about health. Like, if you guys find me on my channel on my Instagram, I'm always sharing about health, about fasting, about natural eating and physiology and all these things. And like I love doing that so much. Every day during lunch or something, if I was working from home, I'd have my book and I'd be reading like my books. I'd be listening to podcasts, audiobooks. I'd be listening to these figures like Lauren Lockman. I'd be like looking into like esoteric stuff, like just ancient wisdom, reading books that have been forgotten in history, and like uncovering this information was just so invigorating to me. And every time I'd read something, I'd always be like, "Excuse me, I just had a big bowl of fruit." But every time I uncover something, I'd always be like, "I wish people knew about this." Like, there's so many people that are suffering from cancer, from heart disease. They think they're gonna die. Like, they think they're you know it's a death sentence, when in reality it's a lot of the times it's not, right? Most of the times it's not. Like, it's very reversible. It can there's if it's intervened early enough, or I shouldn't say intervene, but if the right modality of healing is adopted early enough in the process, then the body will very much like take you back to a state of balance and harmony, with cancers and heart diseases and like these terminal illnesses, right? And so, like, that realization, after I had that realization, it was just really difficult for me to go back into work and do things that were not aligned with that knowing, right? If I knew this, I needed to dedicate my life in a way, in some shape or form, to helping people realize that, to helping people understand that reality, to help them see that. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do that, or like where I'm even gonna start. But like, I know I need to take steps in that direction, because there's like, I can't live my life in another way, knowing this information and not sharing it with the world, right? So that was what did it for me. And even if you don't know what that thing is, even if you don't know like what it is that's exactly going to leave your mark on humanity, I think, again, what we were talking about earlier, like being in the present moment, and the purpose of the quote unquote the purpose of life is literally just to enjoy life, to enjoy the passage of time in each moment, to be present. And once you fully master that, like fully master being in the present moment, you're automatically already in your purpose. Like, that's what I've come to realize. If you're in this moment, if you're feeling fulfilled and you're in love with whatever it is, you're absolutely head over heels in love with whatever it is that you're doing, whether that be like peeling an orange or like, I don't know, playing with your dog, you're in your purpose. It doesn't have to be like going and saving someone's life, like, um this is I truly believe that's what it's all about, because when we do things out of love, we don't even realize it, we don't even think about it, without us even consciously cognitively thinking about it, we leave our impact on the world. When you go to your job and you do your job out of love, you interact with your clients out of love. If you're a coach, you're a coach, Judith. If you're a
yes,
coach and you're doing it out of love, and when you're coaching people out of love, your clients can feel that. They can feel that energy. We're sensitive beings. Like, we don't even like become aware of it, but we have it in our here, like in our hearts. We can feel the energy of people when they're doing things out of love, or if they're doing things forcefully. We can feel that distinction. And when you're doing things out of love, people feel that, and they also get that love. Like, it's just this beautiful energy that, that just resonates, that emanates emanates out of all of us, and is like a butterfly effect. So I have come to realize that my purpose doesn't have to be this huge thing, this like immense thing where I'm like leaving a huge impact on the world. No, it starts with myself. Like, it starts with me doing what I love and doing that thing out of love constantly. And that can change all the time, but like that thing,
And
whatever it is.
you are sorry, I just want to quickly say that you are a life example. So you are the real life example of what you're doing that you love, and people see that, and they can see also they can do what they love. So you
Yeah,
become the example for those
exactly.
people.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's what our essence is love. Like, so that's what fulfillment is all about, is loving what you're doing, loving this present moment, you know, not being elsewhere with your mind, like not being compelled to be elsewhere. Um, it's just enjoying the passage of time. Like that's what our purpose is, really. If you find yourself getting anxious over, oh, and I'm not living my life purpose, like, are you enjoying this moment right here? Because if you are, you're in your purpose,
So what
Something
you're
so.
suggesting to people to find their life purpose is just to be practical, to enjoy every moment and be there. And
Yeah.
also then they will realize, and it will come to them, because they're not hurrying to be in the next moment. So if you're in this moment and you're enjoying this, then you're doing the right purpose. Like it's gonna lead you maybe down this road.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And earlier we were talking about like turning that into a lucrative income and sustaining yourself financially. But again, like when you do things out of love, like because you're doing them out of love, it comes to you. Like that's maybe it's just the way I've conditioned my mind to see things, but I know I know that this is how it works. Like deep down at a core level, I know this is how it works. And like even if there are ways outside of that, even if you're finding ways to do what you don't even love, like what you like totally detest doing, and you like find a way to make it work where it's like turning into a lucrative income for you, I still think it's just more pleasurable to do it from a place of flow rather than force. So yeah, like it's all about energy at the end of the day. It's not all the tangible physical things that we see in the world. It's really all just energetic.
Yeah, everything is energy. No, you're right. That's exactly right. And what I wanted to see is, what would you like to manifest our Earth, or all of our, our consciousness, like Earth consciousness, or us human beings, to be in 10 to 20 years? How do you see Earth and the humans on Earth? Like, what would you like to see? What's your ideal reality, that you would like to manifest?
Hmm. Um, Heaven on earth. uh, well, yeah. So personally for me, I have so many goals of just like being in the tropics, having access to amazing fruit, and just enjoying life there, living a kind of soft life, I guess. Um, and I think through embodying that, like I feel like all of us embodying, like I said, like what that thing is that we really love, that vision that we're in love with. Um, we can create our impact in the world. So I see the world also like, if we're talking about the greater scheme of things, like the world, what I want to manifest for the world is just everyone
Yes.
being in their own individual heaven, whatever that is for each person, right? Being in their own idea of what.
But what if somebody is really stuck in a really sad life? They can't see out of it. Like, for example, they do the 9 to 5 job, they struggle to pay their bills. What would you say to them? How could you encourage them to step out of that, and just step out of that reality, to achieve this, Earth and humanity to be in a much higher state of love and
Right.
community?
I think I would first of all just ask like what it is that you don't want, what it is that you're fearing, like what are the fears that are blocking you from moving forward, that are causing you to feel stagnant in the moment that you're in right now. Um, because oftentimes, actually, most of the time, all the time, I want to say, the fears are an illusion, like they're not real. And we could be feeling fears of worthlessness, not feeling good enough, not deserving enough for the things that we truly want, to the point where we get blinded to the things that we truly want. Like we become detached from them. We don't know what they are, right? But I think it's also important to realize that at the core, you're God, like you're God manifesting as another individual entity, right? So there's nothing that could even put a price on your value. There's like you can't that it's not something that's measurable. It's priceless. You're a priceless being because you're divine. Like that's all we are. And it's the thing that our mind tells us sometimes, the conditioning, our belief systems that we've acquired from being around in this present realm, this physical realm, that tell us that you're not good enough, you're not capable, you can't make money, you can't be in the relationships that you desire, you can't live in your life purpose and be happy. Like these are the things that the world, the external world, that we see with our five senses might be telling us, and sometimes we internalize them and they become our conditioning, and they're the narrative that we constantly replay over and over and over in our minds. But here, you're none of that. This is completely different than what's going on over here. This is the world telling you things, but this is God telling you things, like what's in your heart, right? So that's why, like, it's become such a important practice for me to constantly bring my mind back into my heart, because I'm like, if I get stuck in here, I know, because I don't feel good. It doesn't feel good here. I'm like constantly thinking about things that don't make me feel good, and I can tell when that starts to happen. And I'm like, okay, I need to make changes. I need to like find a way to turn this off and listen to my heart. And for me, that has been meditation. For me, that has been turning off the distractions like social media, taking care of what I'm physically putting into my body. For each person, that could be different. But I would say find a way to remember your power, find a way to remind yourself of your divinity, because what this is telling you is a lie most of the time. It's not true, right? If it's telling you things like you're not worth it, you don't deserve it, you're stuck and you can't get out of this, there's no way out, you're never going to get what you want, those are lies. Don't listen to it. And there's like,
I
they're
agree.
not real. They're not real, because you deserve everything in the world. And the fact that you're desiring it, the fact that you want something, is enough evidence that you're destined for it. Like, it's enough evidence that you're destined to have it. There's no way that you're not going to have it if you want it. If you deep down truly desire it from your heart, it's already yours, baby. Like, you're destined for it, you know?
Yes, and I think a lot of people operate on this unconscious level, of doing everything out of habit. Like you said, you pick it up from your family or your schooling or your friends. So I think that's what's very important. It for, like you said, somebody like that should just take time for themselves, 1 hour a day, where they just sit and just focus on themselves and meditate and seek out what's important to them in their life. And one of the things for me as well that I try to do is you have to actually cut out certain people out of your life that's not contributing to your life, in a positive way. So surround yourself with people that you want to become, like that you look up to. So if you don't have people around you that you look up to and you want to become, and you see that's where you want to be, then you can find people online or follow people that are really great speakers, or they inspire you. And I think that's also important, like you've been seeking out all the people that inspire you, and that also helps you to break away from the subconscious or unconscious behavior that we do every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. And it's funny because when we're, for example, if you're detoxing or if you're wanting to take care of your physical health, we make all these changes to what we're putting into our bodies, but and those all are things that change our frequency. The food you eat, it's also an energy. It has an energetic the signature to it. But the people around you also, like they're things that you consume because they tell you things. They have their own belief systems, which are not necessarily right or wrong, but it's up to you to decipher if that's in alignment with the direction that you want to go. And I think a lot of people do find that when they're making significant changes into to their lives, when they're on this kind of spiritual pathway, their circle also changes significantly. You know, I
Mm.
lost a lot of friends, but I don't really consider them to be losses right now. Bless them on their own ways. You know, like they're. I wouldn't say I've lost them, but I'm just not as connected to them that I used to be, and that's okay. Like because I've gained so many other new connections that are that I feel are much more in alignment with the path that I'm on right now. You know, and that wasn't the case before. And just accepting that, I guess, accepting what you need to let go of, what needs to kind of fall off, so that new things could be coming into your life, so that you could make space for all the new blessings that are going to be flowing into your life. Like that's something that we also need to acknowledge, the part of the process. It's like a death and a rebirth almost, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
perfect.
yeah.
That's perfect how you said it. Yes, and also, what if your family is not supporting your loved ones? You know, and they not on your frequency. All of a sudden, you find it very hard to actually be with your own family. I'm not necessarily talking about your husband or wife. I'm talking about, you know, also your mom and your dad. You can't cut them out of your life. You know, your brother and sister.
Yeah, I get that. I think, you know, like I've struggled with that. My dad especially, quite he's quite in his own ways. You know, I don't want to say stuck, but he's quite adamant about his own ways, and I'm quite adamant about my own ways. But you know, this is again, this is this process, this journey is not about controlling anyone. Like it's everything that we can change on the external happens on the inside first. So um, we can't really change what or how other people are showing up unless we change that narrative within ourselves first, and unless we adopt habits that we want to see within ourselves first. So when I started learning about all of this stuff, I wanted to see my parents making these changes again. Um, and I'm sure my dad, for example, he didn't want to see me making like these changes because it was very scary for him. He was like, "Wait, you're gonna be eating all fruit? You're not eating anything else, or you're fasting for 21 days? Like that's something else I did. Maybe we can." Yeah,
You're
my
talking
dad
like
was
your
quite scared
dad.
in the
Yeah.
beginning. Like he was. Yeah, and he was, you know, he was every now and then he'd mention that he was concerned for me, and I got that. Like, I mean, at first I was like, okay, like I get that you're concerned, and the fact that you're concerned is concerning me because I'm like, now what do I do with that energy? Like, it would just kind of make me feel a bit eerie, you know. But I think I've come to realize that I can't really control how he perceives me. It's not I can't control it directly, at least. The only way that I can control it is by controlling how I see him, which could be a bit of a mind-bending paradox sometimes. But the more and more I've practiced becoming secure in my own knowing and like becoming confident in my own decisions, the more his concerns didn't really impact me anymore. The more I grew stronger boundaries towards the people I loved, which I think is a different language of love. Like if you don't have boundaries, you're always going to be swayed in some kind of direction. Like you need to have boundaries, and even if it's with the people that you love the most. Um, and I'm
That's a good
realizing
tip.
now, like,
That's a good tip. What you're saying is the boundaries to create. But it's very hard
yeah,
because we want the most acceptance from our families because we can't have this protective barrier. That's what we have around us, you know.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, like you said, with family, it could be really difficult. And me with my dad, it was quite difficult. Like I think there were times where he was ready to send me to a mental institute because of all the things that I was doing. But now I think, you know, you can't, like, no matter how many times you repeat certain things to someone, no matter how many times it makes sense what you're saying, if someone has a veil over their eyes, like they're not going to see what you're talking about. They're not going to understand. If they don't have the ears to hear it, they're not going to hear it. But you also can't underestimate the power of planting a seed, right? Because that could sprout in any moment. And I think what really helped me with my parents, when, you know, with my dad especially, when I didn't feel like I was being supported, was stepping out of that feeling, like stepping out of that state, or thinking that I was a victim of his unsupportiveness, you know, and realizing that I don't need someone else's validation of or approval of my way of living to live the way that I know is right, to make the decisions that I know are true to me. It's great if I have them, but I don't need them. Like I can't not do it without them. And I think that thinking has really helped me transcend those kind of more like victim mentality thoughts. And now I just recently completed a water fast, like a 21-day water fast. And again, he was concerned for me. But I was very adamant. I was very like unapologetic about doing this, because I knew that, you know, I'm doing what I know is right. And my decision doesn't impact you in any kind of way aside from me being your daughter, but like it's still my decision, and I trust the process. And if you trust the process, then we can both trust the process and get through this smoothly. But if you're not going to trust the process, I'm going to let you handle that, because that's none of my business. And that could sound a little brutal, but you like the other option is you're going to be wasting your energy trying to get someone to trust the process. And I think that's just a projection of you not trusting the process enough to wanting to control how other people perceive it. You know, it's a bit of a paradox, I feel, but it's like it takes some level of mastery to yeah, to be able to really like handle these situations. And it took me a while to get there as well. But apparently, while I was fasting, he told my mom that he wanted to consider doing a 3-day fast, because he was like, if she's doing this, then she might know something about it that we don't know. And I never once thought that my dad would ever say anything like that. It was like the most mind-blowing thing. And I was like, that's so crazy. That's
Wow,
so
it's
crazy.
giving
I'd
me
love to see
goosebumps. It's amazing.
I'd love to see my dad like make better choices for health, like for his well-being in general. Like everyone around me, I'd love to see them do that, because I really feel like we deserve it, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. That's actually such a beautiful message, you know. I was just going to ask you to share your last thoughts with the audience, whatever you would like to share for them to know, or how they can improve their life today. And yes, please share your last thoughts, and then
Thank you.
take it away.
I'd say, um, well, first of all, I don't know even where to start, but thank you so much for having me on here. I think it was a great opportunity to be able to share like some of the things that I truly care about. And if you feel stuck, like physically, mentally, emotionally, just know that at a core, like you're an infinite being, like you're capable of anything that you could ever fathom. There's nothing that's impossible ever. And once you commit to something in your mind, once you commit to something truly like that you feel in your soul, the entire universe is going to conspire in a way to like make it all happen for you. And you're going to get signs and synchronicities and signals everywhere. Like whether you believe it or not right now, just commit to it and see for yourself. So there's no dead ends. There's no getting stuck in reality. Like if there is, just know that it's your mind playing tricks on you, and you don't ever have to believe that stuff that your mind is telling you. Um, and if you want to take care of your physical health, like if you want to step up, like if you're dealing with a sickness or a disease right now and you want to get better and get healthier, read Toxemia Explained by John Tilden, and also Mucus Cystitis Healing System by Arnold Ehret. Those are two really great books to start with. And also follow me on Instagram, because I share some great things on there.
That she's amazing. Just share is it Medicine Within, your handle?
Yeah.
And I will
Medicine.
also, yes, I will put all your details down as well in the description of the video as well. But please share what you wanted to say.
No, I was just saying that's perfect. Like,
Okay.
yeah, that would be great. And thank you again, Judith. It's always really lovely to talk to you and have these kind of like refreshing conversations. I really enjoy them.
Yes, thank you so much for chatting to me and to the audience. And I think we took away a lot of important key points, and you helped a lot of people, I think, by explaining your own experience and what you went through and how you would, tackle certain difficulties or challenges in a person's life. I think it's really important. Yes, and thank you so much for being on my channel.